So it's now 3 o'clock. Time I'm going to start work. It's not really work being teaching meditation. It's like encouraging, number one, how to meditate, what happens when you meditate. But I was just talking to someone on the way in here about, past lives. Please excuse me if you don't want to hear this, just put your fingers in your ears. But that's one way you can answer all these incredibly deep questions, in a way which is not theory but experience. Because if you get to a certain stage in meditation, when the mind gets very still and the body is kind of disappearing and you're just really aware, nice and peaceful, your mind gets really powerful. It gets really very, very, very aware. And when it does, that's when you can ask yourself the question, what is my earliest memory? Because I remember doing that years and years ago. I had a nice meditation. That was actually over in Bodhinyana Monastery when it was first built. And I don't know where that idea came from at the time, that as you were coming out of the nice, beautiful, peaceful meditations, you ask yourself, what is my earliest memory? And straight away, if this is going to happen, it happens immediately. And I had this smell in my nose. The smell was not in the hall. And the smell was strange. Now, what is this? And it was the smell of my baby's pram when I was a toddler. I don't know how old I was, maybe just a few weeks. And I recognized it immediately. Had my eyes closed. I wasn't in London. I wasn't in a pram. I was a grown monk now. But then nevertheless, you could smell and recognize straight away. That was a pram where I spent many months of my early years in. And when I was in there, you could have the ability, it's not like a memory, like you remember what you had for lunch today. It was an ability to re-explore. It's like you were back in the pram, and I could see all the colours and just go under the sheets and the little pillow which I rested my head on and see my mum. But it wasn't what she looked like which was important, it's what she smelt like. And I remember that experience very clearly, and I was kind of stunned by it. And I was stunned by it, one of the reasons was, because I wasn't a doctor. I never studied the creation of a human brain and how it works and which senses start first. But people who know more about this than I do told me that that's actually when you're a little baby, that's how you recognize things, by smell more than sight, more than sound. Just like living in the forest down in Serpentine, that's how animals recognize you, by how you sound. That's why their ears are always very, very, very sensitive, and they smell too. Even the kangaroo's eyes are not that good, but they can certainly smell and they can hear, and that's one of their most developed senses. It's because of things like that these experiences, are real and true. And what's actually happening there, just to let you know, is that your mind is being developed. The mind and the brain are two different things. But you'll find that out later on. You don't have to believe anything. And the brain, that has its memories from this life, but the mind has some of the memories from the previous lives, and so you can recall those things. What is my earliest memory? And that way you can find out, a long time ago, where you're from. It's interesting to find out. Especially, people who hug teddy bears, they must have been like in the teddy bear jungle in their previous life. I don't know. I'm only making that up. But it's kind of, for many people, it's very fascinating. And all those journeys you had in so many years and so many lives, and find out why you are who you are. And anyway, that's a different thing. Now we're going to learn just how to make peace and be kind. But when you do get into peaceful meditations, there's many amazing things can happen to your body and to your mind. And that's one of the reasons why, with the mind very clear and powerful, you can get what we call insights, understandings. why we are who we are. And just know how the mind, experience of the mind and the way you react to things with your mind, how that has an enormous influence over even your body. And that's fascinating to know, because it means that you're not just a victim of things like fear, anxiety, cancers. It's not just being a victim, there's something more to this than just a bit of bad luck that you've got sort of a disease while other people haven't. There's more going on. When you find out what's going on, that gives you a much more sense of freedom and understanding what life is all about. But anyway, I should focus more on the meditation. I'm only supposed to be talking for 15 minutes just to lead you into this meditation and just to find out how it works and how the mind can be so still and peaceful. I know that a couple of days ago someone asked me very quickly, they said, what type of meditation do you teach, Ajahn Brahm? And I just did the water simile. How do you make the water become still? It's an old simile, but it's one of the best. The only way that the water can become still, not by holding it, by learning how to put it down. It becomes still all by itself. It's a natural default state of the water to be still. And that's the same with the human mind. If you can put it down, let it go, don't do anything, relax, and just leave it alone. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. You find your mind gets very still all by itself. Once it becomes still, it has a chance to build up energy, its own energy. It starts to become clear. One of the things which the Buddha said, it's an old simile in Buddhism. The only way, and I say this because this is appropriate for tonight. It's a full moon night tonight. The best way to see the full moon, according to the traditions of Buddhist meditation, the best way to see the full moon is reflected in the waters of a still forest lake. If you look at the reflection of the full moon, that is supposed to be the most beautiful image of the full moon. But you only see a perfect reflection of the full moon if the waters on that lake are still. There's no ripples, there's no disturbance. It's perfectly still. Then it acts like a mirror, and you can see the full moon and any stars around it. That's just like the simile we have for meditation. When your mind is perfectly still, no thoughts, no descriptions, no aspirations. You let go so much that everything gets still and kind of stops. And then what you see in that stillness is some of the most beautiful reflections you can ever imagine. But they're real. And that's the best way we can understand the nature of this thing we call our mind. And it's not just seeing the mind, it happens naturally, you can't stop it. And when you start to see those beautiful things which we call our mind, if you want to, you can just add a little bit, like what is my earliest memory, and to see just some of the reasons why we are who we are and why we act the way we do. So these are little places where you get what we call insights. It's one of those teachings which come up again and again and again when you read anything about the early teachings of Buddhism. The only way to see things as they really are is from the basis of stillness. When the mind is really still, then it's the opportunity to see things as they really are. That's why insights arise naturally. You can't stop them. You start to see these things. And that gives you a great deal of wisdom. Not the wisdom you get from books, the wisdom you get from the deep personal experiences. And that allows you to let go of so much stuff which causes difficulties, confusion and suffering in this life. Even though the body may be getting old. I was just seeing a couple of old friends earlier, and they were just giving a little booklet which they wrote about the Sri Lankan temple and how it was built so many years ago. There's a Sri Lankan temple over in Kenwick. And it's nice to be able to read all of that, but these are all old friends I've known for years and years and years and years. So many memories we've got to share together. But sometimes those old memories that we have, which we can share, sometimes they can give us a beautiful understanding about our life and where we've come from, where we're going to. Even this Buddhist Society of Western Australia, it just, again, started from this tiny house over in Magnolia Street in North Perth. And from that, it's so incredibly big now. And just helping people all over the world, not just in North Perth, but through the whole world. And that's beautiful to be able to see that. And it gets inspiring. And it just shows what can be done. And when you look back at that past with that positive mind, you can see the beauty. You can see just these are some of the advantages of actually learning how to keep a still mind. Having a still mind is not being lazy. It's quite the opposite. It's from that stillness, from that silence, you can see so much deeper. And hopefully every one of you will understand, no matter what your spiritual tradition, that its silence is beautiful. There's something about Australia, especially when you go out into the bush. I was noticing the other day, again, many times I've been living down in Serpentine in the hills there for about 42 years now. And it's still the silence of that place. When everybody leaves after lunch, when there's no ceremonies going on, and you just go outside and listen, there's hardly any sound in the Australian bush. There's no flights over the top. The highways are a long distance away. There's no sound at all. And there's something which is very spiritual and holy about silence outside. Because it's the silence outside which reflects and reminds me of the silence inside. And the silence inside is so refreshing. You get energized, your batteries recharge, and you can start to understand things which need to be understood. Not because you think about them, it's just because you can see clearly. It's like the eyes of for a good example, I have to wear glasses these days. And if the glasses get dirty, sometimes I can't see what I'm reading that clearly. Just like my mind. When my mind has got lots of decisions to make, thoughts to do, then you cannot sort of see clearly. But you do some meditation, your mind becomes really still. And it's so easy to find solutions to problems, solutions which are innovative and powerful, and they work. It means you can do so much more help in this world without so much work. It's a beautiful deal. In other words, solving problems becomes easy. Difficult problems. So those are some of the benefits of the meditation. But the most important thing is for me to teach you how that works. So how do you meditate? How do you become peaceful? How do you become wise? How do you see things like past lives? How can you have loving kindness for others? And that makes it so easy to work in this world. And how that works is learning how to let go. And how do you let go? One of those things which most traditions teach is like learning how to let go of the past and the future. How on earth can you do that? Sometimes the past and the future, they come up by themselves. It's just the way you perceive those past and futures. If you look at them as something to get rid of, you look at them with some negativity, that never works. You can see those words in front of me, make peace, be kind, be gentle. That's how you let go of things. When you're kind to them, they disappear. They're just coming to test you, you just say hello, and then they go. You're gentle. And then you have a much more peaceful life. So please be kind to the past, whatever your past was. When it's not such a big burden, it's easy to disappear for a while. Be kind to the future. Don't always think about all the things which might go wrong. That's not possible, but it's usually more likely that things will go right. And so we look at the future with some kindness. And then they're not such a heavy burden. You can put them down, take a rest in the present moment, and be kind to this moment. And the more kind you are to now, the easier it is to stay here. It's a nice place to be. When you're afraid of the present moment, of course you'll go somewhere else. But be gentle with your mind. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to stay in the present moment now. That's not being gentle, that's kind of forcing your mind. Give it time. Say, mind, let's be in this moment. But just give it time to get there. And whatever gentle procedures you can do, that's usually the fastest. And after a while, your mind and you have this beautiful understanding, and you can hang out together in this moment, in silence, just so easily. How I work, and the monks know this, I keep telling them, sometimes my mind and I we have half an hour or an hour together, and let's just hang out in silence, and we do, and see how deep it goes. And sometimes it goes incredibly deep. I don't put effort into it, honestly. I put renunciation into it, letting go, making peace, being kind, being gentle. That's the object of my efforts. And so it's hardly any effort at all. So the meditation becomes so beautiful, so peaceful, so easy. May that be the case with you. So I'm going to start meditating now. So, and you're all sitting down reasonably comfortably, but see if you can make yourself that slightly bit more comfortable. I don't know what duties you have to do, but just put them aside. It's something which I can trust now. I don't have to do everything, even important stuff, because peace is more important. Stillness, from the point of stillness, I can just solve so many problems so quickly. So stillness comes first. I'll do a little body sweep to begin with. I just kind of ask my legs, how are you? And if I really have the time, and I think I should do this because I did not do this on Friday night, I ask my feet. I don't consider these to be my slaves, my feet. I consider them to be my friends. And I ask them, how are you down there? And once I can contact them, I can feel them, how they are. That's when I make sure that they are as comfortable as I can make them. It's that gesture of kindness. That is what relaxes me and keeps my feet healthy. And I'm always fascinated by the experience of just being fully aware of my feet, the heels, uppers, the arch underneath, the balls of the feet and the toes. Get to know those feelings. I can relax them just by kindness. I don't do the relaxation. I just look upon the feet just like you would look upon, your favorite little pet, a little bunny rabbit or something. And they know you're not going to harm them, you're going to care for them. So they relax, there's no fear. Everything in them feels safe. So this moment, my 2 feet feel so very, very, very safe. They can relax. The muscles are loose. And the feeling of that relaxation and safety is very, very pleasant. I notice the pleasant feeling of relaxation. I even indulge in it. At first I thought that's dangerous, indulging in something pleasurable. But I found out that when you indulge in the real pleasure of relaxation, the body gets more relaxed. And that's incredibly healthy. And I go up from my feet to my ankles and experience that sensation now of ankles. I feel like they're sinking into the cushion even deeper and feels more at ease than when I started. I go up from my ankles to the calves of my legs. As I feel them, I can feel a little bit of tightness in my calves. So I'll just give them, I can see why now, just need to adjust them slightly. When I adjust them, it's like if my muscles could speak, they would say, "Thank you. Thank you for caring." And now they get really relaxed. Go to my knees. What can I do I imagine my knees sinking into the cushion. I'm not holding them, not pushing them, not stretching them, but letting them be loose and at ease. Go to the thigh muscles. On Saturday mornings we do a reasonably longish walk, arms round. So I can still feel just they're a bit tired after this morning, but they're relaxing now. They feel good. I feel my butt. There's always a sensation there. Your butt is transferring the weight of your body onto the seat of the chair or onto the cushion. I can feel that. All I do is to make sure it's as comfortable as possible, and then it will disappear by itself. And I go up from the butt to the waist. I always find that if I don't get the waist in a good position to begin with, then it can always be disturbing me during the meditation, so I pay special attention to my waist. Adjust it. As long as I'm mindful, aware, and I know just how it feels, it's pretty easy to get it into just that position where it can stay there peacefully for the whole period of the meditation. Comfortable, at ease. And I go inside my body, from the bottom of the torso, moving upwards. And my digestive tract is usually quiet at this time in the afternoon. But I notice it's not as quiet as usual, and the reason is because somebody gave me a dark chocolate bunny, those Easter bunnies, and I ate it all. But it was nice. It's only a little thing. But I can feel it. But it's not a big problem. I can just relax it, being kind to my digestive tract, till I get up to my tummy, my stomach. It's not that hard when you get to a part of your body to wish it well, wish it relaxed. You look at it, feel it, you can know its sensations, and just the well-wishing that your mind is giving loving kindness to this part of your body. It works. At least it works for me. And from the stomach, go up to the lungs. I do have hay fever. I inherited that from my father. Allergies. But when I relax my lungs, are kind to them, at ease with them, I realize that there's no problem right now. I'm meditating. I don't need much oxygen. My metabolism has already gone down. So I can be kind, no fear, and relax even my lungs. And I go to my heart region. And I often notice, because again, metabolism has gone down, the heart doesn't need to pump so hard. So it can be at peace. I love this. This is one of the healthiest times. Just going very softly, very peacefully. And I check many other parts of my body as I go up. And I often mention this to people who have cancers, or breast cancers especially. Please just check that area of your body and wish it well. Relax it to the max. And you can soon notice if there's anything disturbing there right from the very beginning. And you can relax it all. Your mind is very powerful. And it can make peace with things. So much peace that any tumors or anything start to lessen, shrink, vanish. And I wouldn't say that if I haven't seen it. And then I go further up my body. It's like going through the most important parts and then getting to my shoulders. And I relax my shoulders just because I can. I don't hold anything tight. And when I start to let go of holding things tight, my shoulders muscles relax. And it feels very nice. Go down to the elbows, there's nothing happening there. Go down to my wrists, my hands and my fingers. With the fingers, there's so many nerve endings on those fingers. It's very easy to know how they feel. All I do is ask them, are you happy like this? I always get good answers from my fingers. Today they're in quite a standard position. The right hand over the left hand, thumb slightly touching. And I ask my fingers, are you happy there? just like I would ask the monk who's looking after me this weekend, are you happy today? Anything I can do to help you? That's how I look at my fingers. And you soon are mindful enough, aware enough to get the response. My fingers are comfortable. Okay, so I'll leave you there. You don't just assume things. You are sensitive enough to know things. I go back up to my shoulders and my neck. Often I just move my head left to right, back and forward, to get the best possible position of my head on top of my neck. I have my eyes closed. I can kind of feel the position of my head, but I want to move slightly forward, left, until you get the optimum position. My head feels really comfortable like this. And I go to the head itself. And today I'm just going to go to the feelings and the muscles around my eyes, my nose, my mouth. It's amazing just how you can relax those muscles. Sometimes you learn by trial and error, until those muscles become very loose and easy. I didn't realize this when I first started doing this. That's also how you start to calm down the emotional world. Because if there's any tension in the mind, it's kind of expressed by how the muscles on the face look. When you really relax everything there, around the eyes feel just very loose and easy. Around the mouth, the same. It feels pleasant. And then, before I leave off this preliminary mindfulness of the body, I can imagine the whole body. It's all joined together. How it feels. If I've missed out anything, I will attend to it straight away. But often there's nothing to do, just relax even more. And if I do have that time, I would wait until, again, you feel the sensation of beautiful relaxation. You find the feelings in the body are associated with the mental joy, the freedom from an irritating body. Now I can just sit here, need nothing to do to the body. It's at ease, just like parking your car, making sure everything is locked. It's going to be safe for you when you need it to go back home. Just like my body. Parked on my meditation cushion. I can leave it alone. And go deeper inside into the mind. There are such beautiful times with my mind. Just even right now. And so my mind kind of gets excited. In a peaceful way. Yeah, we can spend time together now. And the way I get to know my mind, I start with knowing peace. What is peace? Peace is something very important, which is a quality of the mind, not of the body. And what makes peace very strong? There's two things which you can discover. First is that if you just still have this sense that the past is important, or the future is very, very vital, then you'll never find the peace of this moment. So please let go of the past. What's done is finished. It cannot be undone. And as for the future, your future and everyone's future is being made right now. So now is the time to be. And in this moment, that's where you can find peace. No matter what is happening in the world or in your body or in your family or anywhere. We make peace in this moment. We don't make peace in the future. Now. And always with this beautiful kindness and respect. And you find this is the cause of peace. And once you know the cause of peace, you find you become an expert in creating peace right now. You feel peace get stronger and more stable. Peace is not something you make. Peace is something which you let happen. And just like body relaxation, peace becomes very joyful. Feels nice. It feels holy, spiritual, whatever you call it. And as the peace gets stronger, you find your mind becomes silent. It does not want to describe anything or try and contain things in words. It just lets this moment be. And it's usually at this point where I become quiet. If you want to watch the breathing or whatever, the breathing will come to you. No need to rush it. Let it happen naturally, like flowers blossom after a rainfall. Peace, stillness, breath meditations, insights, they all blossom by themselves. Your job is to let it happen. Never make it happen. I will be quiet now, I can't resist, sorry, until the end of the meditation. Getting very close to the end of the meditation now. How peaceful were you? And how delicious was that peace? How satisfying? What does it do to your body? Your body relaxes so deeply. Any health which I have, I always put down to the ability to relax the mind, and the body just follows and just heals itself. And the mind becomes clear, peaceful. What worked for you? This is where we really learn the art of meditation. It's an art. It's like we learn how to express the world, understand the world, not in theory, but through the emotional intelligence. What peace is, what kindness is, and the power of gentleness. I'm now going to use the chime, and the sound of the chime is to end the meditation. Thank you. Oh, okay. We have some of the questions. And usually after the meditation, I prefer the questions on the internet first of all, to allow your brain to start working again if you want to formulate a question afterwards. Dear Ajahn, when you feel like you haven't made progress in meditation, what can we do instead? It's strange, you may feel you haven't made progress in meditation, but most times you have. You haven't noticed it. So what to do is, at the end of every meditation, don't just come out of meditation. Just check, how do you feel? What's the body like? What's the mind like? And you always feel, even if you ever feel you've had a bad meditation, it's still much better than no meditation at all. All the time, because you have been relaxing, making peace with your body, with your mind. First of all, by relaxing the body, and then by understanding what peace is. If you understand what peace is, it's pretty simple to allow that peace to grow. You let go of past and future. You let go of all these thoughts and judgments. And you find that every meditation, some are great, really deep meditations, but all meditations are better than not meditating at all. So you may feel you haven't made progress. Look again. And you find the progress is not measured in seeing beautiful lights The progress is measured by how you feel inside. You get more sensitive to things like peace, stillness, and the spiritual joys. How does stilling the mind through letting go of all effort and aspiration comply with the jhana factors of vitaka and vichara? The jhana factors of vitaka and vichara, it's not thinking, it's not doing anything. That when the mind gets very, very still, the object of your meditation becomes incredibly blissful joy. So many people, they know the meditation of the jhanas is important, but they still don't understand what these jhanas really are. Look, the way the Buddha described it, the experience of even a first jhana, what is your meditation object? It is called sambodhi sukha. This is not in the body, it's in the mind. It is sambodhi sukha, means the bliss of enlightenment. I always mention this is not just a small thing. If you want to find out what happiness is, this is a big stuff. So what happens? You've got this beautiful bliss of happiness, of enlightenment happiness. It's not enlightenment yet, but it's so close. It's like a taste of enlightenment. So you have it. And because you have it, you tend to hold on to it a bit too much, a bit too tight. And that means that it cannot stay. You just move away. But as you move away, your sense of your mind is just moving away from it, you get pulled straight back into it again. And then you're still holding a bit tight, and you move away again, go back into it again. It's what I call the wobble of these deep meditations. It's not what you do. It's just nature. You get pulled into things. And because of it's not what you do, it's not effort. It's a natural, what happens in the mind. And it's not thinking, it's not using your verbalization process. It's totally different than that. It's far more refined. So when the mind becomes still, it's not 100% still. When you are not holding on to the bliss that hard, strange thing to say, but when you're not holding on to that bliss that hard, you don't move away from it. So you don't go away. So you don't go back onto it again. You're always with it. But it's not totally 100% letting go. It's 99.9999999% letting go. So you find out, for those of you who study this, is what the Buddha said is that jhana between the first and second. I always call it, that's part of the second jhana. But there is still some vichara left there. No vitaka. And then as you relax more and more, you get more confidence. You don't have to do anything. Then that vichara vanishes. Vitaka's already gone. And when the vichara vanishes, that's the bliss of samadhi, of stillness. You can't do anything. It's one of the first times in the meditation you realize this thing which we call the will and the choice, which is, associated with effort, it vanishes. It's not there anymore. It's not needed. And those become gorgeous states of mind. From Germany, dear Ajahn, I have a tumour. How do I meditate best, and how do I cheer my loved ones and myself up to make life easier? Thank you kindly. Please, loved ones, if you really love a person, don't you love them as they are, including their tumour? This is where sometimes the loved ones, they don't know how to love properly. You love everything about you, my dear, including your tumour. And I'm not saying that as a joke. And when you're like that too, you're at peace with things, 100% totally. A lot of times that tumour kind of shrinks and vanishes. When you try to get rid of it, it just stays or gets bigger. So how you meditate best? In this moment you can't get rid of anything. It's right here, right now. If you have perceptions of the future, then you have all this thing, what am I going to do next? What's going to happen after the meditation finishes? All those perceptions of the future is where all this will and effort come from. When there's no perception of the future, you let that go. You're in the present moment. You're making peace in this moment. You're kind to this moment. Not trying to get anything. Not trying to get rid of things. Just being very peaceful and very joyful here, right now. And then the whole idea of tumours coming, going, whatever they do, vanishes. That's how we meditate. Okay. Hi Ajahn Brahm. Is the brain the sense faculty for the mental consciousness, sixth sense? Thank you. No, it's not. The reason I say that is because I love these things when you get science kind of proving that the brain is not necessary to be conscious. The boy with no brain. Years and years ago, Professor John Lorber of Sheffield University, I'll never forget his name, in the 1980s, doing research into people whose skulls were a bit out of the ordinary, whose head was misshapen. And he would invite them to have a CT scan and just see if a misshapen skull had any influence on your intelligence, social cohesion, everything else. And he saw one boy on his campus at Sheffield University in UK. He was a graduate student in mathematics, doing a PhD. He had a very stable social life, a nice girlfriend, but he was invited onto this program. They gave him a CT scan, and he had no brain. So John Lorber put this wonderful article, The Boy with No Brain. Check it up if you want to. He said, to be 100% accurate, he had 1% of the expected cortex. The rest was filled with intracranial fluid. You can't really call that a brain. And especially not when he was so intelligent. He had a degree, a first-class honours degree in maths, and he was doing research. He had a girlfriend. He was just totally socially adjusted, healthy as can be. And I remember just being stunned by that piece of evidence and asking other doctors, have you ever seen that, heard of that? And there's one of these Buddhist doctors which I met. He was the one who drove me to this retreat over in Sydney years ago. There was another guy who had a sinus cancer. It was the same retreat. But this particular doctor, I asked him as he was driving me up to this retreat centre, had time to talk, what do you think about that? And he was really interested because he said, look, I've seen that CT scan. And they did it twice. And both times were the same result. The first time they thought there must be something wrong with the machine. They did it twice, it was real. And there's no way in the world you can actually explain all these higher brain functions with so little of a brain as we know it. And so I said, what happened afterwards? He said it was just put in the back of a filing cabinet under anomaly. But one piece of evidence should have let the scientific community be scientific and actually investigate it further. The understanding of the brain and consciousness, the two different things. Okay. Bonus question if there's time. I've got 2 minutes. Dear Ajahn, is there a skillful way to contemplate hearing conversations in my mind during meditation between voices that feel like me but isn't me. One of the nicest things to do is to not give them attention. In other words, the silence in the mind is far more delightful. And don't underestimate the power of that delight. Your mind will tend to those things which are really peaceful, which are delightful, which are fun. I don't mean fun in this just bubbly sort of way, in this deep sense of peace and stillness and beauty. The powerful spiritual happinesses, they're the ones which are so delightful. And after a while they will take over. And all these like words, the words will never be able to capture the truth and the beauty of stillness. Sometimes that's why I used to love poetry, because sometimes, but only rarely, a poet could capture truth. They say a few words and that would evoke the experience of peace and beauty, especially those in meditation. Most times they didn't, but that one or two times which they could was worth reading so many poems. That's one of the reasons why I often quote some of my favorite phrases in long poems. To see a world in a grain of sand, the heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. Don't really like that last sentence. The first three are gorgeous. They signify something to me about the depth and profundity of meditation experience, to see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wild flower. You're experiencing a heavenly state. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand. You don't need to go to a temple to see that infinity. You have it right in your palm of your hand, wherever you are. Those are sorts of, not thinking, but evoking this beautiful emotional blisses of deep meditation. Whew. Please excuse me, but I get really off on these things. Okay, any question from the floor before I finish off? Please have to excuse me today because at 4:45 there's a big ceremony over in Supreme Court Gardens, so I can't stay that long after the formal ending of the meditation class. So any questions? Going, gone. Thank you.